I think we started like back like who brought up where they talked about like gym rules and stuff like that, gym etiquette.
Oh, gym etiquette. I think that's I think gym etiquette is the same as home etiquette, right? Clean up after yourself. If something breaks, like don't hide it. Either fix it, or if it's broken, throw it away. Let somebody know. The bathrooms. Obviously, they're public bathrooms, but treat it like home.
Yeah.
Right? I don't know. Sometimes it's mind-boggling, but there's paper towels on the floor. I'm like, the trash can's right there.
Or like the soap, it's just like everywhere.
Yeah, honestly, I think that's common sense, and most of the time, people are either rushed or, I don't know, there's kids that hang out at the gym too, and
most of the time it's kids.
Maybe sometimes it's just a matter of saying, hey guys, just telling them,
being aware of it.
Instead of expecting everyone just to know, and then...
Well, I think it 100% is like home etiquette, but a lot of people don't even think about it that way. And I was having a conversation at Pacifico the other day. It was like probably like a month ago. We're talking about like another class came in, and then it was like sweat all over the floor, and then because Pacifico is small, basically you're working on the same exact 4x6 mat that someone 10 minutes just worked out on, But then there's sweat there, and then chalk. The bars were sweated on with chalk mixed. And then they're like, what happened to the so-and-so class? I didn't want to mention the class because we'll know who we're talking about. But, and then I was like, you know what? People don't see it it's like a home, but it is a home. People own a home, whether they own it and they pay a mortgage or they pay rent. Those two people consider that their home still, just because you rent it versus owning, right? That's still your home. And I consider paying a membership rent at home, right? Oh, yeah. And then so that's what I was telling people. I was like, if you don't want to leave your place like that. I mean, maybe some people do, but most people don't, right? And it's all about respecting the next class that comes in too. A lot of times, if you're the first class of the day and everything's all nice, the equipment's all set up, stacked, dumbbells equal, heavy to lightest, not mixed around. You don't have the 10s mixed with the 35s on the bumper plates, and then as the classes go on, it gets crazy, And then the last class, they're just looking at everything. They're seeing sweat puddles. They're seeing dumbbells over there. Yeah. And there's just they feel that it could kind of seem like that's how the gym is managed, but no, it's that's how it gets, because not everyone treats it.
Well, I've had it happen many times where someone says, "Hey, you should just write numbers on the weights and color code it with tape." And I'm like, trust me, I've tried. I've tried many times, organization ways. The only way that works is if after the class I'm a freaking weight monitor standing there those go here. I'm like, it doesn't work, right? But honestly, in terms of sweat, the gym,
you're supposed to sweat.
The gym's gonna be dirty, right? Yeah. I mean, obviously, if you have a puddle of sweat, let's wipe it down.
Yeah.
But you're not. I mean, even if you wipe it with a disinfectant towel, what I tell people is I'm like, a shower should be the first thing you do when you leave here, right? Yeah. Wash your hands on the way out. Wipe your sweat down. Wipe your equipment down.
If you want to be nice and clean, go to EO.
We use disinfectant wipes. Yeah. I know some gyms just use towels. But I know towels, unless you're washing them daily, they could accumulate a lot of bacteria and stuff. But
just those wet wipes.
The wet naps help with the barbells, the pull-up bars. Yeah. If you tear your hand and you bleed, make sure we clean that up.
For me personally, I'm down for the ruggedness, but it's just other people that come in. Yeah. People have different levels of expectations of what it should be, Yeah. But I feel when that's the case, when you're working out in the area, you gotta have respect for other people. That's what it comes down to. And even though if you don't want something like that, you gotta imagine someone else wants something like that.
Well, I had the conversation yesterday. If you're in a warehouse, you kind of accepted there's gonna be dust. Yeah. Grime, rust here and there. We do our job to blow it out, wipe stuff down on the daily, but if you want if you want to like rid all of that, like you better find a retail space and you
Yeah.
better have a cleaning crew daily, you know. But like you said, right? Like the very first Jim Jones, you know Jim Jones? So Jim Jones was like,
he's like part of CrossFit.
He was kind of like one of the founders of the training method. He's actually the guy who trained the cast of 300, the Spartans, when all these guys got ripped for their role, right?
But he was kind of like really against like weightlifting for reps and stuff like that, huh?
Yeah, but they did. Yeah. But what I'm saying is like, there's a picture of his first gym.
Oh yeah.
And if me and you saw it, it would be like, wow, that's cool. If your average person saw it, you see a rower, you see like a rope ladder, you see some rings, you see a bar, and it's not nice at all. Yeah. But kind of what we're doing now is we're kind of combining that old rugged style, almost kind of like a newer, nicer global gym style where it's kind of clean, it's kind of nice equipment.
Yeah.
But at the same time, there's still that hint of like that old rugged style. But I mean, to me, that's what CrossFit is. It's the garage gym, the go outside, the get sweaty, the throw weights. Yeah. Not throw weights, but you know what I mean? Like make some noise and pretty much let all your angers and everything out in the gym.
Like there's people with like sweat just like dripping with every rep coming out, and sometimes that's snot, sometimes that's spit, you know, sometimes that's whatever, you know, but it's like that's part of it.
Yeah, well sweat is like a given. Spit, like I can see if you're just like slobbering, like it's already on the floor.
Yeah,
like,
I see a lot of people slobber, like it's like sometimes natural when you're pushing hard.
But what I don't get is like gum. Like I don't know. I guess someone like sat on gum the other day, and then I see gum wrappers all the time in the gym. I'm like, first of all, I don't understand chewing gum in general, especially during a workout.
If you're pushing hard, like you're gonna.
They say dry mouth, but I'm like, well, you're dehydrated. Like hydrate,
water,
right? Hydrate before you come to the gym. But yeah, so I don't know. I never understood that. But
well, like so obviously someone like spits it out on the floor, and then it's like
I don't know. Yeah. Like I said, I don't know.
That comes down to like a respect thing, I think. You know, like or just. You obviously like spit. Sometimes you don't know what's coming out. Like it kind of mixes in with sweat. But gum, you can see it come out right there. Like,
yeah, and I understand like some of these workouts, you're just like, if you're like truly pushing yourself, you could black out sometimes. Yeah. Not like literally, but like black out in terms of like you're in like a state of like exhaustion where you're pushing yourself. Yeah. And you don't even know what rep you're on or something like that, but
especially in like the competition that you had today, like those people are probably just like,
yeah, I was gonna bring that up. So like, it was cool. I always like competitions because it's very rare, but there's not a person in a competition that's not pushing themselves. But why do you think it's so rare that so many people actually push themselves like day to day? Yeah.
For most people there today, I bet you they never push themselves that hard.
It's rare, right? Yeah. I mean, it's hard, and I get it. But my first 2 years, or when I started CrossFit, I was like, okay, I'm gonna make regionals. That's my goal. And then every year the Open would come, and year one, I was like, I felt ready, like I was good. I was like in my head, I told myself like, oh yeah, I'm gonna make regionals. And then
2012, right? 2012.
So after every open workout, or during every open workout, I would reach that level of exhaustion where, like you're on the floor, you're on your back, you're pain cave, like you don't know what to do, your hands hurt.
You think there's something wrong at sometimes,
and it's like, wow, I pushed myself, and then didn't make regionals. Second year, I'm like, okay, I'm ready, let's go. I trained hard. And then I improved in my score, but still didn't make regionals. But same thing. After every workout, I mean, there's pictures, right? Like
we're just
those lifelong pictures where you're just like pain cave, I hurt.
And you remember exactly like how you felt.
And then after 2 years, man, I'm like, I went through this thing where I'm like, okay, like I'm like busting my ass all the time. And what happens if I don't make it on year 3? Yeah. So I did a real in-depth like look into my training, my life, and I came to the conclusion like every single open workout, I was dead. I pushed myself. I reached a level of exhaustion that I rarely feel. So that's when I knew I'm like, I need to reach this more often during training. So when that time comes, it's not, you know, I'm like more accustomed to that feeling.
So you would say the thing that you reflected on all your training, all that stuff, it was just more of an effort thing during your training.
During training, right? Yeah. So I've always done my own programming.
Yeah.
I enjoy it. So I've never wanted to follow another program.
Yeah.
Just because I enjoy it, right? Like,
so at that moment, you didn't say like, I need to do more of this, I need to do more of that. Well, it's just like I need to push it right.
So the previous years, I worked on the things I needed to work on. But when you program for yourself, it's very easy to program some things that, you know, you can do. Yeah. They're within your reach, like EMOMs, like, I'll do 7 of these. AMRAPs, movements. You try to be as unbiased as possible to things you like, but
even if you try to be unbiased,
I was always good at not just always doing things I like, but things that I would foresee, like the open would happen. The open was, the movements was never a problem. For me, it ended up coming down to that effort of that level of exhaustion. So
yeah.
That's when Jason Khalipa started releasing their programming, and I'd be like, "Oh wow, look at that EMOM," and I would try it, and I wouldn't finish. There wasn't an EMOM I programmed for myself up until that point that I couldn't finish.
You finished all of them.
So then I would try a few of these ones from NC Lab, Jason Khalipa.
I remember there's one in particular, the rowing and like burpees or whatever.
Yeah, and I couldn't finish a single one. And I'm just like, in my head, I'm like, okay, well, that's what I need to do. I need to create optimistic goals and time caps to where it's going to take a certain level of commitment and effort to at least try to finish or get close to finishing.
Yeah.
So that was also when we kind of experimented with the workload theory.
Yeah.
So in the past, you could do a 12-week strength cycle, minimal conditioning, and then, it's January, we got to start getting ready for the open, start conditioning, less lifting, and
then be ready.
But the limitation was never the strength; it was always the work capacity, and that's the bottom of the pyramid in CrossFit. So with the workload theory, let's say so I know you know about it. We'll say it for the video's sake. The workload theory, which came to work, right? So no longer a theory for us. You're looking at a total daily output, right? So let's say if your back squat is 300 pounds. Instead of doing your Wendler's 5 sets of 5 at 80%, 5 sets of 3 at 85%, you're looking at, okay, if you do 25 reps, 5 sets of 5 at 200 pounds, that's 25 reps times 200 pounds, which is for 500 pounds, or what is that, 5,000 pounds?
Yeah.
5,000 pounds total weight lifted in that back squat session. So what the workload theory is looking at is not the weight, but that 5,000. So day one, you're going to squat 5,000 pounds in that given session. The next week,
doesn't matter if it's like
following
95 pounds.
Right, like, following your linear progression, next week we need to accumulate 6,000 or 7,000 pounds. And maybe different rep schemes, different Intuo, Metcon, whatever, right? So I tell people all the time, like, not all the time, but people ask me, like, hey, you guys really do, like, high lifting. You guys do mainly, like, lower percentage work. I'm like, well, yeah, that's what's worked for me.
Yeah.
One, you don't get as beat up because you're not lifting heavy. Longevity is key in CrossFit.
And people get caught up on just lifting heavy, like that's like everything, you know, but
yeah, and
one workout in the open at most every year.
Yeah, so that at that time, like, my strength was decent, but it was nowhere near the top guys.
Yeah.
But then Josh Bridges and Chris Spieler would still make the games.
Yeah.
And I was as strong, if not stronger, than these guys. So in my head, I was like, okay, instead of taking let's keep lifting to get stronger route, which could take years, I'm going to take this route of just developing my engine as much as I possibly can with maintaining a little bit of strength.
Yeah.
By the workload theory, right? So the workload theory enabled me to use that theory of getting stronger while conditioning, right? So a lot of EMOMs, all my weightliftings were EMOMs paired with a gymnastics movement, and
I remember
it worked. I PR'd like several lifts that year, and my conditioning was the best I ever had it. I didn't have to lift over 80% ever, and I PR'd.
Yeah.
And then I made regionals that year, and I finally reached my goal because I don't want to say it's because I stopped lifting so heavy, but it's because I used that time in a better way to
more focus,
focus towards on what the goal actually was, right? So
I still have memories. Like we started the workload theory, like I would say the open after 2013, right? And I would go in because I was still in law school at that time, and so we would work out like right around 10 in the morning, right after your morning class. And I remember we'd go in and we'd be like, all right, we're doing back squats, and then we're calculating, right, last week, I remember vividly, it was like, we're at 25,000 pounds for this specific day. Like, how are we going to accumulate 25,000 pounds? And then what movement do we want to mix with it? So it was like back squats, rowing, GHDs, rope climbs. And it was like, we'll fly through 20 rep back squats, do 20 calorie row, 20 GHDs, 2 rope climbs, and then rest. And then do it again. We did like probably so many intervals of that until we got 25,000. I think it was 25,000 pounds at that day.
And then I remember we did it with power cleans as well.
Yeah.
It got to the point where our power clean EMOMs were like 45 minutes long, and it was like a thing. It became like every Tuesday,
let's go
45-minute EMOM power cleans, up and down and up and down. But like I said, it instead of spending an hour just lifting some weights and then having to worry about conditioning after that, we're doing it all at the same time. We're doing CrossFit.
Yeah.
And then that's what enabled me to reach my goals. And then that also, I attribute that training to like me being a grid athlete. Because it wasn't singles, it wasn't rest 5 minutes in between rounds. It was hold on to that bar, right?
Yeah.
So
I remember that was, so we started that workload theory in 2013. I would say like right around late spring, early summer. And then that very next year, that's when you qualify for regionals. So you're doing that kind of training. Yeah. And I remember I would just see like one portion of it. I would be there at like 10 in the morning with you, and then you would do another session later.
Well, I would go in at 8
or
for a long time, and then more and more people started coming, so then I started going at 7.
So you're at 2 sessions at that time?
Well, that was the thing too, right? Like, after 2014, I got to meet a lot of athletes, a lot of high-level athletes, a lot of coaches. And what I took from their training compared to mine was the volume.
Yeah. Like,
I was training hard. I was pushing myself, but I would probably train total, right? Like of actual working, like about 2 hours a day. 30 minutes here, 45 minutes here, 20 minutes here.
You wouldn't do like a full class. So it would be like a little piece here, a little
right.
Yeah.
And then once I made grid and I started meeting a lot of these games level athletes, like, wow, their volume is 4, 5, 6 hours a day.
I noticed like that's one thing that not to mention any names, but like we would see them do it. Like they would sit there for 4 hours straight to get everything in. But then a lot of times they're almost like too chill, right? Like I saw the difference between the competition intensity versus the training intensity. I feel like the lower your training intensity is, the higher the volume has to be to compensate, right?
Right.
So if you're training 4 or 5 hours a day, it's hard to get the same intensity or a high level intensity, or else you're just gonna burn out.
Yeah.
But then, like for you, example, like 2 hours max, but in 30-minute segments, you're like over here just like pounding it for 30 minutes, and then you'll take a break later in the day, 15 minutes, pound it. You know, so it's like,
well, I tried doing the 3-4 hours straight, but after 2 hours, you're kind of just doing the work just to do it.
And I saw a lot of high-level athletes doing that, and I always wondered, and I was like, I always thought that they could do better if they.
Well, they do what they can with their schedule. For me, I realized the intensity dropped after 2 hours, but then also, anytime you compete, you're not working out for 4 hours straight.
Yeah.
It's
12 minutes.
8 a.m. is WOD 1.
Yeah.
11 a.m. is WOD 2. You know, it's throughout the day. So it's the warming up and cooling down, warming up and cooling down. Why like competition volume isn't nearly as much as training, but why are you so much more sore after a competition?
Yeah.
Because everything you do has that intensity. If I could go back, with the knowledge I have now, I would keep everything the same. But I would add in mobility, a little bit more just pure aerobic work, right? Like a little bit less intensity, but like
one day of just like aerobic work.
I'll probably do it in the morning, first thing first, right? A couple days a week.
I feel like that doesn't burn you out. You can do that every day almost.
And then my nutrition. Right? Nutrition is it's weird because.
Well, before you go into this, can I just say like my experience with you and nutrition?
Oh yeah.
So so I remember right around 2014. It might have been like before or after regionals, right around that time. You're either training for regionals or you're training for grid after. And in the morning, I come back and I don't know what I was doing. I was probably like working or going to school or something. And I come home. It's like middle of the day, probably noon. And then I just see you like you're like on the sofa, just like knocked out like this. Taking your nap, you'll take a nap, you'll train in the morning, take a nap, and then go again, do it after, right? And then I just remember like you had a Carl's Jr. wrapper right here. He had the 2 chicken sandwiches, were like 99-cent chicken sandwiches. I forgot what they're called.
Kit Kats.
Yeah, and Kit Kats, and then there's something else. There's a Pop-Tart wrapper right next to him. So he's passed out like this, and then like wrapper here, wrapper there. It was the funniest thing ever. I think I have a picture.
Well, let me defend that.
Yeah.
Let me
defend.
Well,
yeah. I just wanted.
It all goes hand in hand. Like, so we have this upbringing of how to eat, right? The food pyramid. Then you join CrossFit, and it's all about paleo. So my idea was you eat a lot of meat, and that was pretty much it. Get my protein in. Looking back, I was very like deficient in carbs, especially for the amount of training I was doing.
And calories, overall calories.
Well, calories is most important.
Yeah.
Right? You need to fuel your output. If you're deficient in calories, then you're deteriorating yourself at a certain point. But because I was really like focused and strict on the way I thought was supposed to be right,
it's hard to get a lot of calories that way.
Every Wednesday I would go to Carl's Jr. That was my thing. Like every Wednesday, Carl's Jr. on the way home, I'm gonna treat myself to a hamburger and sometimes more, and even Pop-Tarts, and
just go in that food coma.
And then and if there's candy laying around, I'm gonna eat it. But that wasn't me saying like, oh, I deserve a snack.
Yeah.
It was me like, it was my body craving more. Like I was deficient, and that was just a splurge and letting my discipline go for a couple seconds.
But it's probably beneficial because you're making up the calories that you should have gotten.
Yeah, at the end of the day, like
it's better off getting
that's not the part I would change,
yeah.
Right? Like I'm not saying I would go back and change and not eat Carl's Jr. The way I was eating, I'd probably do that more often. But even to this day, right? It happens to me. Like sometimes you forget to eat, or sometimes you're too busy, or you don't eat enough. What happens, right? You end up splurging on something because you're starving. If you're starving, you have a much higher rate of, it's late, it's 9 o'clock, I'm just going to go to whatever, Del Taco, or even if it's good food, you're just going to go out to eat because you're so hungry. If there's a candy laying there and you're starving, you're going to eat it. So then the following year, 2015, we had a coach on the LA Reign, the grid. And he pretty much talked to us about nutrition. And the first thing he said is, when it comes to nutrition for like fitness, there's performance-based nutrition and there's health-based nutrition. It's different.
Yeah.
If you're a trained athlete, calories is number one, right? If you're working out 4 hours a day, the average person, right? What's the 2,000 calorie diet based off? That's the average person just living.
That's if you're just
waking up, going to work, walking up the stairs. That's about how many calories you burn a day. We do that. Plus our 3 or 4 hours of working out.
Which is probably more than the 2,000.
Which is probably at least matching or 3,000. But then as coaches, like I know you track your steps coaching for 4 hours.
Yeah, just being on your feet the whole time.
I never took that into consideration either, right?
So my Fitbit says I'm working out like 5 hours out of the day.
Right.
But I'm just walking around in the gym.
Right. So my weakness, I would say my weakness in CrossFit, not in terms of movement, but would be like lactic threshold. Like a rower sprint. If I was tired and I had to sprint on the rower, it's not happening.
That's always been like me and you have been opposites. Like,
so
my strength and your
once I put together like a diet template, I realized how carb deficient I was. What I was eating was like a quarter of maybe what I needed.
It's higher protein.
And when you're doing CrossFit, okay, so there's a study, right? During your, let's say you're doing a 10-minute AMRAP, 10 push press, 10 toes to bars, 10 box jumps. It's common for people to say, oh, that was good cardio. That's not cardio. Cardio is kind of relatively low heart rate, right? Like, let's say...
We can almost talk like this.
Let's say 130 beats per minute.
Yeah.
Right? If my heart rate's 130 beats per minute, your body's like, okay, this is not too strenuous. I'm going to use a low fuel source, which is fat. That's why when you do cardio, that has to be a long, sustained 130 beats per minute. While you're in that zone, your body's using fat. But the second you stop, your heart rate drops.
You're done.
You're done burning fat. During a 10-minute AMRAP or a typical CrossFit workout, you're not comfortable, right? Once your heart rate gets above that 130 beats per minute, you're using glycogen.
You're not burning any fat no more.
Right? You're not burning a single fat cell during that workout because that's low octane fuel. So you're using glycogen in your muscles. Your muscles store glycogen, which is like carbs pretty much. And then once your muscles deplete, then your liver has stored glycogen in it. And that's like the whole like carb loading, this and that for marathons. Not really necessary unless you don't eat any carbs, right? So in order to start burning fat, we need to deplete our glycogen, deplete this, and then your body taps into it, right? So, or just do a very long, slow, boring workout.
Yeah, like 2 hours on the bike.
But then those who are doing cardio, now they still have to do their weight training, they have to do all that. That's a good thing about CrossFit. You're doing it all at once. So the study is Julie Fouché. She did Fran.
Oh, Fran, yeah.
At Pepperdine University. Fran 21:15.9 thrusters and pull-ups, which she could probably do it in around 2 minutes. Yeah. But with the mask on,
she had the mask on and
the VO2 testing and all that stuff, it took her about 3 minutes.
And that pull-up bar was all like moving around too.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
But really, what they were looking at is her heart rate, right?
So that video is on YouTube. You guys can search it.
Yeah, the science of a CrossFit workout. It's about 10 minutes. Pepperdine. It's
like
pretty
two
good.
parts. I think she does Fran on the second part.
Yeah. So summarize. She does Fran with the mask on. Does it in 3 minutes, which is still really fast. During those 3 minutes, her heart rate averaged about 190 beats per minute, which is really high. If you're not trained to do that, you probably think you're having a heart attack.
Yeah.
Even our typical day at CrossFit, we probably rarely reach that. So during those 3 minutes, she did not burn a single fat cell. Right? She's using her glycogen for energy. So 190 beats per minute. Then her recovery rate, her heart rate started to trickle down. And then the professor that did the study, her heart rate stayed in that fat burning zone for like almost 2 hours just to recover from that 3 minute workout. So
she's not working out anymore and she's still...
Right. So her recovery rate was in the fat burning zone. That being said, that 3 minute workout, getting her heart rate so high, 190 beats per minute, gave her 2 hours of fat burning to recover. So what would you rather do? Sit on a bike or jog slow or row or whatever, relatively slow for a long period of time and just be bored?
Yeah.
I know I'm bored. I don't like doing that stuff.
But then you get into strength training benefits.
Yeah, but and
if you're going hard.
And that's it, right? Or you can do a 3 minute workout, push yourself to your limits, and that's why we always like encourage you to push yourself. And get 2 hours of fat burning without even to recover and not do anything, right? So it's a good video, but this is where I'm getting at, right? Yeah, this ties into nutrition
and programming.
And effort, right? That competition effort. What you eat after your workout, before your workout is important, right? Like if you deplete those glycogen stores during your hour of CrossFit, we need to replenish that. That's going to fuel your recovery. There's even studies that show carbs break down into sugar. So when you eat sugar, you get an insulin spike. there's hormonal responses to that too, right? For guys, like it helps increase your growth hormone, your testosterone, puts you in a better mood. If you're in a bad mood tomorrow morning, you're probably not an asshole. It's probably like you're either like malnutritioned, you're dehydrated, or you're tired. Or if you're tired tomorrow morning, even though you slept 7 hours, you're probably malnutrition or dehydrated, or maybe you're just an asshole. But
make sure of everything, especially if you're training hard.
I experience that. If you're training really hard and you're deficient in anything, your body tells you, right? Your body's smart. Your body's like an adaptation machine. So yeah, it's like nutrition is not that tricky.
No.
But once you learn it,
you just basically gotta know what.
And it's nothing fancy, right? It's like when to eat what before your workout, what to eat after your workout, what kind of meat you should eat, how many, like a lot of greens and all that stuff. But we had our dynamic duo today. The effort obviously is like is a big part of doing well and competing. But probably the most common question I get, other than like, hey, how should we do this workout, is, well, hey, what should I eat tomorrow? Or what should I eat in the morning? What should I eat between my events?
I get that a lot too. And I'm just like, first of all, you shouldn't be changing what you eat.
Yeah, that's what I say. I'm like, well, step one,
don't change everything for this day today. If you're gonna change anything, you gotta change it months before you.
Right. Don't change anything because your body won't know how to respond to that.
Yeah.
Eat what you eat.
You'll probably be in the bathroom, blowing it up.
Obviously, in the morning, give yourself some time to digest, fueling in between, and all I say is have a good breakfast. And typical competitions like today, we run on time, right? We're done by 12 o'clock. All right. Plan to not eat a single meal till you're done, right?
Yeah.
A full meal.
That's all the snacks.
But the fueling is replenishing the glycogen, the sugar, the carbs, the protein.
So I saw, I wasn't there, but you mentioned, so you went to the games in 2016, and you're in the athlete like warm-up tent, cool-down tent, like so basically the staging area almost.
Oh, let me tell a story.
Yeah, so you know I'm getting that.
Yeah, so the coach from Grid that talked to us about performance nutrition and health nutrition. Health nutrition would be whole food, paleo, right? Natural foods. Eat for your health. Don't eat for your CrossFit scores. Performance nutrition. I'll give you an example. My required carb intake when I was training was about 500 or 600 grams a day. Let's say I do paleo and I have to get 500 grams a day of carbs. How many sweet potatoes and apples and carrots? How many do I have to eat?
Like one big sweet potato is like 75.
Just to fulfill that.
Yeah,
right? So this guy, long story short, said, hey guys, we need some fast replenishment, especially when you only have an hour in between events. He said Pop-Tarts. So this was actually after you found me with Pop-Tarts. I already knew what I was doing.
Yeah.
Not really, but said Pop-Tarts will give you fast, simple sugars and carbs and glycogen restoration. And he said a Mexican Coca-Cola
with cane sugar,
since they're made with cane sugar, but decarbonated.
You just shake it up,
right? Or sugar. And if we had some health freaks on our team, and he's like, if you're just not gonna eat that, bring some orange juice.
Yeah.
Some all natural orange juice. In between, during training, I'm sure people have experienced after like a long training session, you might start to cramp or just feel like, dang man, like I don't have any energy for more. Most of that is blood sugar.
Yeah.
Once your blood sugar drops, you're tired. That's why you eat, and then you boom. He's like, bring some gummy bears, right? Even if you look at a gummy bear, that's better than yeah. So he's like, put a gummy bear in your mouth, man, and suck on that freaking dextrose and high fructose corn syrup.
Well, what I was talking about the story.
Well, this is what I'm getting at. So it was hard for us to accept, right? Like
it's hard to believe.
We're professional athletes. We're eating what? Pop-Tart? Well, I'm like, I'm down to try it. Whatever coach says. So that year at the following year at the CrossFit Games, at the CrossFit Games, there's an athlete area where every team, every individual has their own table.
You can chill there, relax.
Yeah, it's air conditioning, especially because I was in Carson in July. It was really hot. They had this huge tent, athletes only, waters, food, and really close to our table was Team Mayhem Freedom, which for those who don't know is Rich Froning's team. And in the middle of their table, what was on their table? There was a box of Pop-Tarts and a big, like, Costco-sized bag of gummy bears.
The Haribo gummy bears?
Yeah, and it was kind of like confirmation of, oh, maybe our coach was onto something. But we're not, and that's what he said. He's like, we're not going to suggest our parents or even you guys if you're not training much.
The average CrossFitter that's doing the class WOD, you should not do that, right?
Yeah, I mean,
eat gummy bears after.
Like I said, you could get it through natural foods, but the amount of volume of natural foods you would have to eat to hit your number of 600 or 700. Even Fikowski posted his grams one day. It was 800 grams a day.
Yeah. He's a big guy too.
And think about it. If these guys are training 3-4 times a day, when do they have time to eat a big meal, a big meal, a big meal, a big meal, a big meal?
Yeah.
Then they don't train because they're too full, right? So
one thing that Fikowski said that, so obviously like he's probably eating like gummy bears in between, but he posted something on, I think it was 2017 or 18 CrossFit Games. He knows he's depleted throughout the whole day, and at night before he goes to sleep, he'll have 125, 150 grams worth of carbs and just oats, just to reload all lost and make up his,
probably just to
just
reach
to make
800
up,
grams.
But just to make up, and that's it. So before he goes to sleep, he'll have a big ass bowl of oats, and then just to be sure that he replenished.
Yeah.
You know, and then he'll wake up the next day, and then all his muscles will be full with glycogen and ready to compete again. Yeah.
Well, that's like recently I posted a nutrition post. So I lived that lifestyle of getting all my foods. I ate good, but I would have the Pop-Tarts. I would have the soda, the here and there, the Carl's Jr. here and there, because I was training 3 or 4 hours a day. I stopped training 3 or 4 hours a day, but it's hard to change like a diet change just at the flip of the switch. You know, it's real easy to keep eating like that even if you're not training. So I got the idea from you of doing like whole foods. So you think it's common sense, right? Like, how should humans eat to be healthy? Whole food, right? Like how food comes in its natural state, like grass-fed beef, right? Grass-fed because if there's a cow in the wild, I don't know if there's any wild cows, let's say an elk.
Yeah.
What do they eat, right? They're roaming the mountains or eating grass, pigs or whatever. Like the way they eat naturally is gonna help them develop the way they should develop. Those are the foods that humans, right? Pick an apple and eat it, right? Take away the glossy insecticides and this and that.
One of my theories, it's all just what I was thinking, you know, about what I know. Like I didn't do any research on it, but one of the reasons why I think a lot of people overeat, you know, that's what it comes down to when people are overweight. The calories that they're eating is more than the calories that they're burning, right? Mm-hmm. And one of the reasons I think that is true is because they're not eating whole foods, right? And what does that mean? So I feel like just say imagine if every day you ate that chicken sandwich from Carl's Jr., right? It has a lot of protein, maybe some fat, a lot of carbs, right?
But a lot of calories.
But there's no micronutrients. So I feel like if you eat something like that on a daily, you're going to be eating more of it because your body is constantly hungry, looking for like micronutrients.
Like 10 grams of Carl's Jr. chicken might have the nutritional value as like a hormone-free, cage-free.
So my idea is like if you just eat the right things, like whole foods, you're going to eat less because it's more nutrient dense. And it turned out to be true. Like I started doing it in October, and because I train a lot less. I was doing almost as much training as you when you're competing, because I was basically doing basically everything you were doing alongside you. And I would just eat anything. I'll be at the gym eating Skittles, you know, just everything, just getting the macronutrients in. Because I think it's better to do that than to be at a deficit at that point when you're training that much. But now it's like I caught myself. I was like on the weekends eating the same way, but my training was only an hour a day, and I noticed my body composition was like getting a little different. I was like, all right, I need to do this. And then Linda was like, all right, you want to do this whole foods, eat whole food. We didn't call it whole foods, we called it real foods, because I feel like that whole foods, someone tried to sell like a book about it and all that stuff. I was like, no, we're just eating real food.
Then they start making paleo muffins.
Yeah.
Like, no.
Just eat real food.
In its natural state.
Yeah, natural state. And then so I did in October all the way through the holidays with like 2 cheat meals or whatever. And I lost 3% body fat in those 2 months. And without even like work, so I would say my physique, like muscle composition, is probably better that training once a day than went training 3-4 hours a day.
Well, it's probably the same, but your body fat's down, so now you see it, you know.
Yeah. Well, that's what I'm saying. Less body fat training once a day than training. I was training probably 4 hours a day at one point with you, and my body fat was way less just in 2 months of doing real foods compared to training 4 hours, eating all the junk, drinking all the beer, all that stuff, you know. So it was always in my mind as far as like the micronutrients part. I believe in macros for sure, but I feel like a big part for the average person is not the macronutrients. It's more of like being satiated, right? How do you say that word? Satiated?
Yeah.
Satiated.
Well, you have to prioritize it. Right?
Yeah,
prioritize. Macronutrients are more of a priority than micronutrients in terms of fitness, but probably not health, right?
Yeah.
So I haven't done too much research on this, but it's kind of factual, right? Like there's certain foods that create inflammation in your body, right?
That's another thing too.
A lot of wheat and yeast and
bread and all that stuff.
Like bread, right? Bread, tortillas, flour, like all these things that the modern diet has a lot of. So if someone experiences knee pain, right? If someone say, "Hey, my knees hurt," like, okay, well, was there like a specific instance that hurt the knee that you felt it, or it just randomly started hurting? Yeah, just random. So I'll say like, okay, well, were you like squatting? What, like, is it a bruise? Did you do a lunge and bruise your knee? Dehydration, right? Water, don't forget water in nutrition. So your joints, your skin, your hair, your eye fluid, your saliva, all relies on your water intake. Your organs, most importantly. So if you're deficient in water, we all know what happens, right? Your lips crack, your eyes dry out, which can kind of feel right now.
A lot of times you're tired because you're
But your joints take a beating as well. If you have joint pain, look at your water intake, because if you're deficient, your body prioritizes your organs, your brain, and your heart first. So it's gonna extract all the water from your body to make sure those two are hydrated.
Is that skin test where you can pinch? If it stays up like that, like you pinch your skin and it stays up, you're most likely dehydrated. But if it goes back down to normal, you're hydrated.
Yeah, so dehydration. Then those high inflammatory foods, the wheat products,
chips,
anything chips,
corn
anything
syrup,
fried, corn syrup, high fructose corn syrup, which most products have for addictive purposes, right? Like, all right, I'm gonna start a company. What's my number one goal to start a company? Make money. So how do I get returning customers, make them addicted? That's why Coca-Cola used to have cocaine in it. And now instead of cocaine, it just has sugar.
Different forms. There's so many different names of like the sugar.
Right. So eliminating these certain foods, like you said, like I dealt with a shoulder injury. I wouldn't even call it an injury, right? It's like, why does my shoulder hurt? Just random. Like, I gotta warm it up. That's gone. Occasionally I feel it, but like, I'm not gonna say my diet's perfect.
But it's a lot better.
But when I even did like intermittent fasting, all that went away, you know, like intermittent fasting, whole foods. Like I had zero pain. Yeah. Is it now I'm only training 1 hour a day? Or is it because I'm eating better, or is it a combination of both? I think it's a combination of both,
yeah. But then like performance levels, there's certain like numbers that you're hitting training 1 hour.
Yeah, and I was telling Mike Douglas today, I'm like, I train an hour a day, but there's certain things I can do now just as good, if not better.
Yeah.
But there's certain things I can't.
Yeah.
There's nowhere like top end strength or like high end threshold, like anaerobic threshold. I wouldn't know because I didn't even try to get to that point these days. Yeah. But I push myself. But in terms of like healthy eating, it's more of a healthy lifestyle nutrition now as opposed to a performance lifestyle now. So,
but like all the nutrition stuff, a lot of people they overthink it, right? It's like that's why I promoted the real foods, because like I was like, don't worry about like eyeball measurement, but as far as like, you know, weighing and everything, like balancing the ratios out, like visually, I think is just as good. You know? As long as you have that down, eyeball, protein, carbs, fat. And then if you have the real foods, then you're going to get the micronutrients on top of that too, not just the protein, carbs, and fat. And then you have all those nutrients in, and you're most likely going to get full longer, right? Your body's not going to be looking for more food just to get those nutrients in. Yeah. And people at Pacifico are getting results without even like worried about how much they're eating, just because they're eating the right food, right? But it goes back to, I want to go back to like the programming, right? So the Julie Fouché thing. Testing Fran and heart rate and fat burning and carbs, all that stuff. I feel like most people aren't able to push that hard. I understand like mentally they probably want to, but physically
it's a learned skill.
Yeah, it's a learned skill. They can't physically move that fast on a squat to get their heart rate with a barbell and get that many pull-ups in a row, whether it's banded or not, to get that heart rate up. So it's like, I feel like for me, I geek out on the programming to get like someone that can't move that fast to still get the same effect.
Same
stimulus, you know, but that's like, I feel like the hardest part.
Well, I do intervals, right? So we'll do like a 2-minute interval with a 1 or 2 minute rest. And when I brief my classes, the first thing I say is...
This is going to be a waste of time.
The first thing I say is, okay, guys, this is one of those ones, right? And word for word, I typically hesitate to program something like this because there's a certain level of intensity that you need to benefit from a workout like this. So I hope that this talk kind of motivates people. I'm like,
but then you still see it.
During your squats, I want you guys to get in that mindset that you're gonna like grind today, and I really want you guys
that bar, go
to like dig deep and push yourself to achieve a certain stimulus. And if this weight is gonna disable you from reaching that stimulus, drop the weight, right? Yeah. If you're doing less than X amount of reps on round one, we're gonna drop the weight. So I like put a sense of urgency in them, and then and it works, right?
I say that too, and what I add on top of it too, I'm like, I say that something like that along those lines. I'm like, if you're not willing to do that, you'll be better off sitting on that Echo bike over there for this whole hour, going at easy pace, and that'll probably be a better workout than this 15-minute interval if you're not willing to push it.
Yeah. But I don't know, that's good. The thing with programming is like nutrition, like you don't overthink it, right?
Yeah.
If you're doing an EMOM one day, then maybe tomorrow should be a longer AMRAP. Like change the time domains, change the modalities. That's what CrossFit is, right? Don't just be a sprinter or don't just be a distance runner.
Yeah. It's hard.
Day 1 you sprint, day 2
yeah.
you're like kind of in the middle. And then day 3 you're long and slow, and then
I feel like a lot of people
your
get
body
stuck
can
in
adapt
that
to that.
middle. You know, people are willing to go long because it's like slower. It's almost easier going long.
It's a different workout.
Yeah, but then like that sprint, like Fran, I feel like not too many people are able to or mentally able to go there. You know, and I feel like that's where people need to get there
Let's say if someone doesn't know how to do like a butterfly pull-up, or a kipping pull-up.
Jumping pull-up.
Fran no longer becomes Fran, right? Yeah. So then you can add a jumping pull-up, or if you do strict pull-up Fran, great workout, different stimulus, right? So yeah, I think nutrition, programming, there's performance, working out and eating, and then there's healthy working out and eating. So, and I tell people when they say, hey, like, okay, I want to get buff. I'm like, okay, well, depending on your goal, doesn't change the working out. It changes the nutrition.
Yeah.
Right? If you want to lose weight, calories got to be here, nutrition's got to be here.
Doesn't matter if you're an athlete.
Maybe certain supplements, right? Like creatine should be maybe added. I think everyone should be on creatine monohydrate.
Yeah.
It's even studies that show it helps with heart health.
It's crazy because I was telling people the other day about creatine. I feel like I got so strong just taking creatine.
Yeah.
I would make before training. Remember when we started the workload that we talked about a few minutes ago? I would go train with him at 10 in the morning, and my ritual was to put a NutriBullet. I'll put because I was always conscious about like macros and stuff like that. So I would blend a banana, strawberries, 2 eggs, and some olive oil with ice, and then I'll put probably too much creatine. I didn't really do the research on how much creatine. I was putting like 15 grams of creatine, and then 10 grams after. So I'll blend it up, chug it, and then go train, come back, do another one, put another 10 grams, chug it. But I remember at that point, like, that's when I hit my 405 front squat without even really training at a high percentage, you know, just doing a high volume, you know. And that goes to show, like, just loading up on carbs before.
Well, that's like research too. Creatine's probably the most steady supplement, and you hear so many horror stories like football players take creatine and then their liver fails or they cramp up. Like, yeah, because the more creatine you take, you're dehydrated.
Yeah.
So the study showed 5 grams a day. Doesn't matter when you take it, before or after.
25 at that point. That's
I know,
crazy.
5 grams of creatine monohydrate is all you need. Any more than that, unless it's a lot more, right? But yeah, I mean, it's not hard. There's no secrets. At the end of the day, push yourself. Eat according to your goal.
Yeah.
And if you don't know how to eat for your specific goal, ask somebody that might know, like us.
Yeah. There's also Google too.
Yeah.
I think it's crazy, but one other thing is...
I'm trying to cheers.
Cheers, but I got one other thing to say. It's one thing I get a lot too is like... So, effort level and nutrition, those are the 2 things, right? But a lot of people think they earn a pizza for training hard for a day. And I'm like, if you want...
It's like a punishment.
Yeah, I'm just like, no, but they don't understand, like, an hour of training is, and then you eat pizza. Like, even an hour of training, if you eat healthy, it's hard to lose weight, right? Yeah. But then it's like, they train hard for an hour for 2 days that week, and then all of a sudden you see on the weekends, just like, I'm just like, all right, come on, just stick with it for like 3 months.
It comes down to the goal. Like we said last time, like, do you want it or do you just kind of want it? But
no, but I feel like it's a confusion because these same people are saying like, I don't get it. Like, I'm like, are you really don't get it, or are you just saying you don't get it?
Yeah.
And I'm like, I feel like a lot of people don't get it. You know?
Yeah, they're like, oh, I did that for 2 weeks. And I'm like, 2 weeks? That's like breakfast. That's like warming up. So
yeah.
Whatever it is you do, don't make any don't come to any conclusions unless you've like stuck with something. I would say at least a month, right? A month is sufficient time to notice some results. But even then, like 2, 3, 4 months maybe. So yeah, I think that's it. We talked a little nutrition,
a little bit of everything.
I'll
finish my beer this time.
Yeah,
like a little bit more.
Salud.
That's a long one, she said.